What's the app about? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so in Alaska, you have the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. And so what they do is they manage all the fisheries in Alaska. And
How much are they potentially making per season?
so as you can imagine, around 300,000 in revenue.
Hmm.
It sounds like a lot of money, but it gets cut down
Yeah.
really fast. Protect.
Who cares? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yes.
I'll put all my revenue from this one on a bet with you on Kalshi from the app that we build.
All right, let's do it.
Oh.
All right, welcome you all to the channel. This is your boy Amit, and today I have with me Micah Linsched.
Yep.
Did I say it right?
Yep.
What's up, Micah? You're blowing up. I came across your YouTube video that has what 18,000 views. Maybe it's up to 20 now. And I was like, oh, I need to talk to this guy. And here we are. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, your app, how much money you made, all the good stuff.
Yeah, Micah Linsched, software developer. I got into programming at a pretty young age. Pretty classic route. Went to school for computer science. Got a job at Lockheed Martin. Worked that for quite a few years, and then I've left to kind of do my own endeavors. And I mostly do a lot of contract work and whatnot. But this recent app was pretty much just a nights and weekends sort of a thing. You know, just 2 hours here, 2 hours there. And I didn't really plan on launching it this year, but was able to get it out, and it seems to have worked. And it's really one of those situations where it's a problem that I've always known about, but with the advent of Starlink, the solution wasn't really available until Starlink came on board. So I just kind of found the opportunity.
So that's interesting. It's like Starlink comes along. Now all the fishermen on the sea have internet, and this is where your app comes in, which is about figuring out how many boats are on the water. What's the app about? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so in Alaska, you have the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. And so what they do is they manage all the fisheries in Alaska. And so they manage when commercial fishermen are allowed to and not allowed to fish, as well as how much they're allowed to catch. So that way we can have fisheries running indefinitely, and the most sustainable fisheries in the world, bar none. And so most of that communication just happens VHF. It's delayed.
When you say VHF, like old school radio.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And so now with Starlink, you know, when you're on shore, ADF&G posts all this information online. It looks like something maybe from the late 90s at best. Nobody enjoys, like we all are like clicking around every single time, like where to go. And so.
And you knew this was a problem because you were on the boats?
Yeah, so I commercial fished up there through high school and college.
Nice.
And so it was always just something we wish we had. Like we wanted to know certain things about like, well, how much fish have gone up the river? Because this is important, because if enough fish go up the river, that means then we're allowed to commercial fish. But if there aren't fish up the river, then we know we're not going to be fishing anytime soon. So things like that.
Okay. So you're like, I'm going to create an app. You have a software engineering background. What part of that app was AI, and how much was your hard, like you're sitting there writing code like a crazy person?
Yeah. So for me, I'm pretty not arrogant, but I'm always willing to like evaluate like a new system for what it is and come to a conclusion on my own and feel confident with that.
Yeah.
And so what I was like seeing was kind of this like two sides of the aisle with programming with AI. You had like the mid to senior level engineer who would just kind of berate any sort of error that the LLMs would output and just like toss it aside and say, no, I'm better. And then you have someone maybe with zero technical background, not providing enough context or understanding of how kind of the software development process takes place to actually create something that can be used, meaningfully used, and not just break all the time and do what you want it to do. And I was like, well, that can't just, so I was like, the only way to know, that's the thing I've always loved about coding. Like if you want to learn something, you don't have to wait for permission, like start, like go now. And so I started playing around with it, trying to just say like, I'm going to build a little project and I'm not going to write one variable. I'm not going to write one line of code. And so I figured out pretty quickly how to actually do that and come out with products that actually work and also have a lot of fun doing it.
Okay.
And so this project in general, there's quite a few pieces to it in order to make it work. And I did not write one line of code. I just want to be very clear about that. Not one line. And as far as AI goes, the only piece where AI comes into play is, other than the development, is ADF&G spits out announcements. And so they'll tell fishermen, commercial fishermen in Bristol Bay, there are several different districts. And at the beginning of the season, as a fisherman, you say, hey, I'm going to fish in this district.
Okay.
So basically, they have these announcements in a PDF online. And so I actually send that PDF with a prompt to OpenAI, and that prompt provides back a formatted a JSON response that
Okay.
I can then use to post to my database that then can be used on the mobile app side. And that's incredibly helpful. And I'll say why. Typically, you would use natural language processing to sort of parse through like a PDF like that.
Hmm.
But what's challenging is there's so many edge cases that you might not account for.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is you can kind of assign the prompt like its job. So it knows what to do. And I've been just blown away by like all these edge cases and how well it handles them. Like it's really incredible. And so it makes
Okay.
my life
So let's
breezy.
pause. So you have what is that website called? ADGF or something?
Yep. Alaska Department of Fish and Game.
Okay. So they put out a PDF,
Yep.
and that PDF, you are taking that and then you're sending it to OpenAI with a prompt.
Yep.
And that prompt's job is to parse the PDF into readable format, which is always standard. So you can then take that content back and do something else with it.
Yeah, it just helps
Okay.
standardize the format so that way I have something that I can use consistently from the database.
Okay. So you have the PDF. How do you send it? Like, I'm a layman. Like, I don't code, but I love what you're
Yeah,
doing. So how do
yeah.
someone like me figure out how do I even send this thing to OpenAI?
So the way it works is I use a platform called Render, and
Okay.
Render just makes it really easy to use a server, more or less.
Gotcha.
And there's all kinds of things you can do. But all I do is I have a script, a Python script, and it sits on this server and it runs every so often. And I
Hmm.
know when they post those PDFs, they post them at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. It just keeps going around.
Okay, I remember when I was watching your YouTube video, and then because they are not consistent with it, you kind of have your cron jobs to listen for a few minutes before and a few minutes after.
Exactly. And so all it does is that script is gonna look for a new PDF. When
Yeah.
it finds that new PDF, it downloads it, it takes it, and then I have my API key set up with OpenAI. So I just make a post request,
Yeah.
right? And then OpenAI knows who I am. I
Hmm.
send that PDF off, and then I use just one. I don't remember what model I'm using. I think I'm just using 4.0,
Okay.
but I think I'm just using 4.0 to have it.
Yeah, 4.1 mini, I tried that. It was pretty horrible. So 4.0 seems to do a good job.
Yeah.
All right, so do I have this right? I have this on my whiteboard. ADGF, that's the website. Then you use a middleware called Render. You have a Python script that. What's the job of the Python?
So that Python script sits on render,
Okay.
and then it goes out to ADF&G, and it knows what URL to use to scrape data. And that's part of the like why this opportunity is cool too, right? Because it is not pretty. Like, especially as developers, we're in today's day and age, like we are so used to be able to just like, where's the API for this? Where's the API key? Like, where can I get
Right.
my API key? No, this is pretty old school and it's pretty gross.
Yeah, you just hacked it together.
Yeah, and but the thing is, there's not really like a pretty solution to this necessarily.
Because the site is like stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, and I feel so one of the like challenges with scraping, right, is like you have to be concerned about
Right.
them updating the site and then your scraper's out of date and then your stuff break.
What about concerns about getting blocked? Are you using like a proxy server or something so your IP doesn't get blocked? And I
Um
might be just making shit up. I have no clue. Because I use something called Scrape Owl that does the scraping for me. So maybe what I'm saying is stupid.
No, it's not actually at all. And this is one of my concerns. I don't think, from what I can tell, they're too concerned about security over there because like there's nothing to.
Right.
Yeah. So no, that was a very legitimate concern, and I actually ran a few tests where I like took my bot and just like I would just like berate it and like to see if I would get shut out, and see if I
Okay.
get denied and killed. I do have alerts set up though, so that if I do have a request that gets shut down when I like try to grab the HTML text, off the
Yep.
site, it'll tell me, hey, I just wasn't allowed to.
What are you using for your alerts, like Pingdom or something like that?
So yeah, this is one of the things with AI too, I think, is like a lot of these services that you'd normally plug into, I don't have to actually write the code or like plug into them or write the code anymore. And I literally, when I prompted, I said, hey, if this fails, text to my Telegram bot, right? And so I
I
have a
love it.
Telegram bot so
Yeah.
on my phone, and I just
This
had
is
Telegram and it just pings me.
this is just crazy. Like you have hacked the shit out of this thing because you wanted the data. First, let's give me an estimate on how many hours do you think you put into this?
I was probably a little too excited on the YouTube video, but it was probably somewhere between like 40. I'm just gonna say 40 to 80 just because it makes,
Let's go on the higher end. Sure. 80
but
hours,
yeah,
right?
but that's the high end, like absolutely not more than that.
Yeah. And I suck at math, so I'm going to open up my calculator here. Let's say I think you said you are close to $10,000 in revenue.
I actually just
And
crossed it before we got on.
oh my gosh, that's awesome. So that's 10K. Congratulations, Drew. 10K revenue, 80 hours of work. You're making $125 an hour just on the side. This isn't even your main job.
No.
That's awesome. And this is something that's recurring revenue, right? It's not a one-time thing. They pay $25, it's paywalled, they get into the app, and Apple will automatically charge them annually, which you said is better because the commission is only 15% versus 30, I guess.
Yeah, and to be fair, I didn't even know that until I started like going through the numbers and I saw like the proceeds that Apple was giving me, and I was really it was higher than I expected. And I was like, what's what I'm not reading something right, you know?
Right.
And then I like dug into it and I was like, oh, I do. It's only 15% in this situation. So I didn't even plan for that.
That's awesome. Now, here's where I am like, this is where my like ignorance comes in, right? I use AI tools, whether it's Perplexity, OpenAI, Lovable, Bolt, you name it. Like, I've used most of them. Cursor, not so much. I started using Claude. I installed MCP and I was like, oh my gosh, I have this portal open to the other side of the world. I had no clue what the heck to do with MCP and all the tools it gave me. So, how does a person like me who uses it as a hobby, how can I get into this action? Or is it that your core programming skills is what you have to get to this point?
So this is something I was actually really from my YouTube channel. I've gotten a lot of questions, as you can imagine, and I would say absolutely not is where we're is the state of
Okay.
LLMs. What you do need to have, and anyone can do this, is to just simply sit down with a piece of
Hmm.
paper, break out what are all the different like what are the big things here that I need to have, like what are like all the different pieces in play. And then you could probably like it's easy for me because like once I know those pieces, like I know
Right.
like how to get the database set up. Like, oh, I need a scraper, so I'll just use these packages. And it's like I know those things, but it's I don't ever talk technical.
Right.
And so I would say no, you do not need to have a coding background. I think you're gonna have a way easier time, but in general, if you're willing to dig in and ask questions, again, you like if you know all the pieces of the puzzle, then just go to 4.0 and say, hey, here are all the pieces of the puzzle I want to build.
Yeah.
What are like the
Tell me how.
simplest building blocks that I need to link together to make this happen?
Gotcha.
And I can tell you it's probably going to give you a good solution. It might not be
Okay.
perfect, but
Yeah.
it'll probably work.
Okay, I think that's fair. I've never tried that, but that's a good way to think about it. Like just ask for, oh, hey, here's the app I want to build. What do I need? So
And so
let's look at your app, right? 80 hours, $10,000 in revenue. So you're probably going to, you don't have to give numbers, but you're in talks of getting it sold. So let's say you're going to double that. Let's say you're going to come out of this with 50 grand on the other side of
sure.
this. I don't know how much apps sell for, maybe 3x the annual revenue or whatever. You might have some churn, but you can also blow this out of the water. No pun intended. So let's say 50K. What is your go-to tech stack? Or if I'm starting today, I only know LLMs. What is the MVP's tech stack? Because you've made mistakes. You said, if I have 400 users, that's 400 API calls. Like you haven't had any caching in there, but you have the MVP tech stack. So what's the MVP tech stack that you would recommend to user?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer at this point, just based on like I've tried a lot of tools.
Yep.
So the MVP tech stack is going to be whatever front end technology you need to use.
We need front-end technology. Okay. See,
Uh,
I don't know that.
Right. So, like for me, in this particular case, right, I used React Native with Expo.
Okay.
And so that allows me to build for both Android and iOS simultaneously.
Okay. Did I spell that right? EXPO?
Yep.
Okay.
And they're kind of taking over the cross-platform market at this point, it seems like.
Gotcha.
They've kind of run with it.
And the LLMs know how to use that. So I don't
Oh
need to.
gosh. And that's honestly one of the reasons I would want to even code with it, right? Because it has a lot that to pull from to build you something with somewhat good to help you with good results.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So in my full-time job, I implement Salesforce, and that's one of the things that Salesforce has is the community is just so huge that any problem you can think of, it's already been solved for. So I
Yep.
think that's what you're getting at is like these coding platforms, there's so much support around it. The LLMs have already scraped all the data and they know, okay, I know how to build this.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the front end tech. And what does that do? That builds kind of like the skin and the wrapper of the app.
Yep. So that's just going to be all the everything that you can see on the app, right?
So the UI.
Displaying
Yeah.
all just the app itself is just going to be that.
Okay.
But then you're probably going to need to feed that app with something interesting, right? AKA data.
Yeah.
I mean, the primarily, 99% of software is just beautified spreadsheets,
Yeah.
right? That's all it is.
Yeah.
So with that, you need a database. You're probably going to need authentication, and then you're going to need a way to kind of interact with that database. And
Okay.
so all of that can just be handled with Superbase, as you've already put in.
Yep. And the only reason I know that is because when I use Lovable, I have to deploy that site and I use Superbase to deploy it. Or there's Netlify, but Netlify is more like a CMS. Superbase is more of that SQL kind of database that takes care of things. So yeah.
Yeah, and I use that across client projects as well and stuff.
Okay. And that's really it. So for what do you do for authoring the users? Is it social login or do you just do like a email password and you set all of that up in Superbase or how does that work?
Yes, I can choose from all of what you just said. It just depends on the situation, what we're doing. But in this particular app, I don't even have authentication.
Nice.
There's
Because
no
you just
authentication
take them
required.
directly to a paywall.
Straight to the paywall.
All right. So you said you didn't write any line of code, and I don't believe that. How can you build an app with no lines of code? How did you like? Maybe that's the next video, and we'll see how many comments we get on this or what you keep posting. But if that's something people really want to see, is like, let's build this shit from scratch. Because I want to
Yeah,
see hands on keyboard and see you do this.
Yeah, and so this is actually I was like thinking about doing like a 2 or 3 hour build almost.
Do
So I
it.
can kind of show you my process. But high level, my process starts with building the database schema. And again, I think having some like basic understanding relational databases would be helpful. But even then, it's like I find myself less and less paying attention, for better or worse. But basically saying, here's what I'm building, here's the information that I need that I have, and then I'm going to be displaying to the user, help me create a database schema. And then it'll create the database schema. And then once you have that, you can so
So
like
wait, pause. It will create the database schema. Where? Is it VS Code?
sure. Yep. So I got to back up. So I'll usually just do that, honestly, just in my ChatGPT desktop application.
That.
Or I'll do it in Cursor.
Okay.
But then I take that database schema, I go to the Superbase SQL editor.
Mm-hmm.
I'll copy paste that into a fresh database. So it's just no tables. There's nothing going on. It's just empty. And then I'll run it. And then boom, I've got tables. And then I have that database schema file within my project. And then whenever I am building something, I'll say, whenever I'm like, hey, we're gonna all like maybe reference like a mock-up in Vercel V0, right? I
Yeah.
love using V0 as a way to like once I have data. So then what I'll do is I'll take like a table that I know that I'll be displaying within the app, and I'll say, hey, you're a mobile UX designer. Please describe this to a mobile UX designer as a way to display this data, in an
Yeah.
interesting way. Maybe give it some reference photos from Google Images. It'll create a prompt as to like how to build it. Then I'll take that prompt, I'll put it into V0.
Nice.
V0 gives me a nice mobile screenshot that I then take. I put that into Cursor, and then
Yeah.
I talk to Cursor like, hey, you see this? You can pull from this database, you can make calls and let me know if you need me to build out, an edge function or something. And I'll deploy that for you as well. And so,
How does the edge function come in? Because in my full-time job, I work at a company and we provide edge AI. So it's the unopen AI where it's all on a Mac, it's local. Is that the edge function you're talking about, or is that something completely different?
no, it's more of it's Superbase's way of like deploying of having like a really light way to handle requests from your users. So your user might say, I want in my case like and I actually did change one thing in the weather is like, hey, I want this weather data.
Right.
So then I receive that request in Superbase and Superbase says, okay, and it has my API keys and then it will go out to my, NOAA or whatever, grab that
Yeah.
weather data, and then I might want to do something with it. There might be something like about that data I received that I don't want or need or whatever. And then from there, I can do with it what I want. I could post it into my database. I could
Mhm.
return that data to the user.
So,
It's like a really lightweight. You can't do any, it's not set up to like do like really heavy data process. Like you wouldn't do ML or anything like that with an edge
yeah.
function, but you can still just do some like lightweight processing. No problem.
Gotcha. Okay. So you've mentioned Cursor, you've mentioned ChatGPT, V0. How much do you think you are paying? So we'll talk a little bit about costs and then we're going to pivot to, hey, I have an idea. How would you do it? You're still good on time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So, how much are you paying in subscriptions every single month? And are those API costs or are those API calls costing you? And if so, like, what's the total out of your pocket cost to build this?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't keep track of how much I spent on. I didn't because I was like, it's like a mixture of like other projects, so it's not. It wouldn't have been more than like it probably. I bet you I spent $100 or so probably in Cursor alone just for
Yep.
tokens, and then that's like again I know it's like a round number I'm going to, but based on like
Yeah.
what I know I use, it was probably something around there. And then I mean like I do spend on V0 because I use that for client work too.
Yep.
That's $20 a month. I pay for GBT. I just paid $20 there. And I will tell you, and this is again where I think I'll receive criticism from like devs, is I'll probably spend, and I don't know what it's gonna look like, just for my work in general, $3,000 to $4,000 this year on tokens.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
that's crazy cheap for like what I'm getting, right?
Yep. And that's just core API tokens. If you use the high models, could be less if you go with the cheaper model.
Yeah. And again, as far as costs go, that 3 to 4K is not associated with this app. What's associated with this app is probably like 100 to 200 max,
Okay, let's go with that. Yeah,
you know?
because these people who use the app, there's not much of tokenization happening other than you taking the PDFs, converting it, and that's where the
And
token cost is coming in.
yeah, and that's gonna be, I mean, we're talking about a cup of coffee here,
Yeah.
probably for the whole season.
You should add buy me a coffee on your YouTube. All right, so you have, let's say, 100, $200 to for 500, dude. Let's round it up. How much
Yeah.
would this cost me if I actually went and hired you as a freelancer? Your $80, you're gonna bill me at 250 an hour. It's gonna cost me at least 20K to build this. You did it in $500.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, this is the age we're living in. And so you'll probably notice because like that fact that you bring up has like given me a lot of sleepless nights, because I've been programming since I was like 14, right? And so like I've invested my whole like basically adult life
Yeah.
into code and now I'm like, do I need to make a career pivot like right now, Because where do I fit in this puzzle?
Well, I think you discredit a few things here. The things that you have built, yeah, I could get there, but it would take me so much longer. So I think you do have an edge having done coding since you were a kid because now you can amp it. I think it's more like you're multiplying it versus it's not going to take over. At least not yet. It's not there yet. I'm sure there'll be just like this V0, I'm sure there'll be a V1, V2 where we could one click code these, but I don't think we're there yet. And maybe you'll be the one building it. Who knows?
I certainly think the day is coming, right? Where this is going to be kind of off the cuff, but like someone who, say, replaces roofs wants to like rebuild their own CRM instead of paying, $2,500 a month. I was actually just talking this is why I bring it up. Owner of that company can just sit there on the couch and just like think about this with something on their head and then boom, the software is done.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think I think that day is much closer than we realize, personally,
which is scary.
which is interesting.
Yeah, because there's bad actors who can think bad things and then build it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's with
So,
everything.
yep.
So where do you take this app from? Oh, actually, let's talk a little bit more about the app process itself. Because you've done this before. I have never done it. So you have the app, you build it. Where is all of this happen? Where is the build part happening? Is that happening in Azure? Like, where are you building it? VS
Yeah.
Code?
Yep. So that's a great question. Because there's a couple options for this. I just want to make sure I get. So what I actually use is when I'm testing and stuff locally, I actually build all this stuff locally just on my machine while I'm testing Android and iOS.
Okay. So like a
But
local host server or something.
yeah. Well, yes. What's interesting is once I want to actually deploy this to production, I use something called Expo Application Services.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're incredible because they'll submit your app for you on behalf of like they'll submit your binaries to Apple. And
Yep.
so like you don't have to do it's one command, right? From the command line in cursor, it's done.
Nice.
It's so easy. And so
What do
then
they take? Do they charge you for it?
I'm paying like, yeah, that's a cost that we need to add. I got my bill this month. I think it was $88 in total for this app specifically, by the way.
Wow. And that's a one-time thing. They're not going to charge you recurring.
No, so that is because you get charged based on you're only allowed so many builds within your plan, and then as soon as you go
Gotcha.
over that, they just like charge you more and more and more.
So your app has submit a request. So you get 10 new user requests. Now you gotta ship all of that, and that could be one new build that you ship. So that'll be the cost to expose app services because now you've just pushed a new build and maybe you've exceeded your builds for that month or something.
Yeah, I think my plan is literally it's not even a plan, it's just pay by build or something.
Pay as you go. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just like a pay as you go.
So you test and build it locally, then you use CLI within Cursor. Have you tried Gemini CLI yet?
No.
Okay, that's just came out, so I don't even know how to use CLI, but
Well, the one thing I just want to say though, I have a lot of friends, and so we're always kind of going back and
yeah,
forth. For all of us right now, we cannot Gemini 2.5 in Cursor smokes everything else.
nice.
Like it's not even like I just don't use anything else. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's
I'm glad to see Google is getting what like the recognition it deserves because OpenAI
they're
kind
back.
of ate their lunch and dinner, and they're like, okay, let the big boys come back.
They're in the market for sure.
Yeah. There's a really cool documentary on Amazon Prime called The Thinking Game, I think. You should check it out. It's how DeepMind started, and then Google was already doing all this before any of us. They purchased DeepMind and they created like the cure for protein folding or something, which is like humanity saving stuff. And yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm just over here scraping data,
Hey.
repackaging, selling it,
Oh, hey, these are all steps to the next thing, right? All right, so let's talk about the next thing. Anything else I missed out here? We have this cool whiteboard that's kind of your brain dump of everything you did here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now let's put you on the spot. You have not prepared for this. I told you that I will share something with you.
Okay.
And before we do that, let me see if I can share my screen just so people can let's see. Oh, hold on. I'm pressing wrong buttons on my phone. I want to show people where your app is in the App Store. You cannot start screen sharing while collaborating on a whiteboard. Well, how the hell do I stop collaborating on a whiteboard?
And I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell from your screen, but are you on a Mac by chance?
Yes,
It does
just
show.
got a Mac Mini.
It is up on the Mac App Store too. You can see everything there.
Oh, perfect. All right, then let's just do that. So,
Oh wait, your screen came up.
yeah,
Nope.
I'm gonna stop that one. That's good point. I will just share my desktop number two. Yeah, I was a Windows guy, and then Mac Mini came around, and all the specs were like too good to pass up. I'm like, and for my work, I have a Mac, so I'm like, you know what? Screw this. We're moving to Mac because the context.
The last thing I'll say about this app is that's really fun is I wasn't really sure what the demand was going to be like, and so I normally don't do B2C kind of thing,
Mhm.
but I guess it's kind of B2B because because fishermen are, they're running their business out on the water.
Right.
But my goal is to just own this market. So I'm gonna run this across other fisheries in Alaska, and already in the process of doing so.
So make sure when you do go through the whole sale process, obviously talk to ChatGPT, Gemini, that there's nothing in the NDA that you, or maybe there's a period that they're going to put in there that you can't come become our competition. And once you sell the app, if that's what you're about to do,
And,
because
and
then you're
that's
going
why
to
I'm
shoot
saying
yourself.
like birds fly, fish swim, and deals fall through. Because like if I'm not gonna accept anything around that, right? Like I'm not gonna go through with any sort of terms that would include that.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome, man. You already have the right thought process here. Okay, so let's go into the App Store and BB Run. So I'm on
Uh,
the Mac App Store. It's BB Run Live, yeah? All right, so this is what the app looks like. You have some screenshots in here. What am I looking at? What is total run?
Yep. So this is screenshots from last year's season, but that's telling you there was, 50,800,000 fish that were both caught, and part of that is caught and part of that is what went upriver.
So this
So
this is something crazy for
the
someone who
forecast
just
was 51 million in total, and so it
okay.
was the prediction. So what ended up happening was 99% within the prediction.
Oh, okay. So that's 99% of the 51.3 million forecasted. Okay. So this is something wild because I go catch my fish at the local grocery store. How are they counting the number of fish?
Yeah, so when you deliver your fish, they go onto basically a bigger boat. When that bigger, and each processor, when they offload those fish, they go through a pump, and then as they're getting processed, they go through a machine. And so they know they have like the exact count as to
Gotcha.
how many fish have been caught. And then they count how many fish are going up the rivers. And they do that in various ways, part through technology and then through some old school ways as well. But it's usually sonar is kind of what they're doing,
Okay.
along with you'd have to talk to a biologist, but their number one priority is fish health,
Yeah.
or is health of the run.
And what are these fishermen primarily catching? Is it Atlantic
Only
salmon?
only sockeye salmon, red
Okay.
salmon.
Gotcha.
That's all that's caught in Bristol Bay.
Got it. So this data was on that website. You basically figured out a better way to present it.
Yep.
That's just to boil it down, not to dumb down your efforts by any means, but
No, do
that's
it.
what we're looking
That's all it
at.
is. I mean,
Is-
it's just web scraping, posting it in a database the data that I scrape, and then it shows it on the app.
And then you had said something in the beginning that each fishing season they put out a PDF and the fishermen have to kind of be like, I'm it for this zone. Is that how it works?
No, so they actually just there's a call in. Basically, you can see like the Naknek Kwijak district. This tells
Yeah.
you like, is it backwards or can you?
No, it's good.
Okay. Yeah, and so basically it tells you like how many boats are in each district. But the more interesting thing is like, well, what's going to happen in 48 hours? Because the rules up there are if you're fishing in one district, but then you want to fish in another one, you're allowed to, but there's a 48-hour penalty. And so you're not allowed to fish for 48 hours. And so in Bristol Bay, that's a really big deal because that season is only like 3 main weeks. So
And
missing
in 3 weeks,
days.
there's 50 million fish being caught.
And if your season is 21 days and you take yourself out for two, you just went from 21 to 19. That's,
Yeah.
but it might be worth it depending on if there's more fish in another district. So if you're in a district and you see all these boats coming on, like that's something you want to know about.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. This is crazy, man. This is wild. The times we live in is just insane. Like to build something like that and just to MVP it, you have already called out on your YouTube channel all the mistakes that you made or
So
things you could
many.
have done differently, but you still not only making bank, you're getting YouTube views, you're making money, and you're about to sell the app. So congrats again. That's great. All right, now let's pick your brain.
All right.
So I'm gonna show you my screen. We're gonna riff on this. You have no clue what I'm gonna throw at you. So be prepared. So here's what I'm gonna throw at you. This just
Yes.
became legal in US. It's a betting market like Poly Market, and I lost money, which is what you do when you start betting. But here's where I find it very interesting. So, kalshi.com, you go there, and there was a recurring theme. The recurring theme was, what is the secretary or the press secretary going to say or not say in the next press briefing? I'm like, okay, this is something that we could use AI. We could look at all of her last few press briefings, parse the transcript from YouTube, and then create a website that does exactly that, that says, okay, in the last five briefings, she has said these words every single time. So the likelihood of this word being seen again, and people who are betting on this would use this website. So the revenue angle comes in that one, become an affiliate for this site, or
Yep.
two, just banner ads, because the traffic would be enough to hopefully support at least that first tranche, and then we expand it to other AI based betting. So that's where AI comes in. But how would you build something? Because I tried this with Lovable Dude and it wasn't good. Let me pull up my Lovable while you think through what you think might be the best option to do this. So let's go to my Lovable account, and I have a shit ton of failed projects in here. So let's go with White House Signals. That's what it was called, or I think that's the domain I got. And the concept again was, let's track the press briefings. Let's see what are the words that the White House press secretary is saying. So I got as far as figuring out the YouTube API key because it's hard to scrape the transcript. And this is where I hand it over to you and be like, all right, Micah, work your magic. What would Micah do?
Yeah, so the first thing I would want to know is I would need to find a way to source YouTube, like her YouTube videos of her talking, right?
Yep.
And so
This is just an example of, so what will Carolyn Levitt say in the next press briefing? And now that this betting market is open, I think this is a staple that's not going to go away. People are going to keep betting on this thing that they want to guess what is she going to say. Right now, you can see there's $4,664,000 already bet on the next press briefing.
Yep. So I think I'm not going to touch my any LLMs right now and just
Yep.
kind of do this with my head, which is my first concern is how do I, and this is where I think in general, why like the term vibe coding, where people like you just take that idea you just had and you
Hmm.
shove it into a bowl or a level bowl or a base 44. And this is where I think you get really poor results, right?
Yep.
Because once the LLM decides to take a path, it's real. And if it's the wrong, if it comes to a conclusion that's wrong and it comes to a way to make steps, it's disastrous, right? And
Right.
so this is why when I'm thinking through a solution with an LLM, I always ask it, please, like, here's what we're going to do. Please propose your phases to implement this solution. And then it'll go back, do that. And then I'll say, oh no, in phase two, step B, this isn't right because blah, blah, blah. And so we just have this back and forth before we actually talk about any sort of implementation.
Gotcha.
And I've learned that that's like one of the most important steps because once it has steps to execute on, it's killer. It's the, I
Yeah.
mean, not to be like dramatic, but it's as good as anyone in the world, just
Yeah.
about, right? And so this is where I think you have to first tinker and play around like, well, how are we going to figure out a way to source transcripts of the press secretary and make sure that whatever solution we come up with is in fact those scripts?
Because my first thought was, okay, let's just go to, I think it was White House press briefings, and
Don't they
they
post
don't
them?
have the transcript.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if I go here to White House press briefings, it's essentially a library of videos, which is just an embed from YouTube. So there is no transcript. I'm like, okay, this is lame. This one was on July 7th, and you can see there is nothing here. So this is on whitehouse.gov. So I'm like, okay, let me go to YouTube then. The problem with YouTube is that the White House channel has more than just the press briefing. So all the press briefings live under this live tab, and you can see the
Wait, can
last
you
one
go,
was one day ago.
yeah, can you go back to the White House site?
So on here,
But
there's
isn't that video of her? Isn't that just an embedded YouTube link right there?
correct, but where's the transcript? Because I need to know which words she said.
Right, but don't they? But they do provide the exact video in that share, right?
Yeah.
In the top right. So can
Yeah.
we go to that video directly?
Yeah. So you can go to that video. I can either hit share, grab the link, or I can just click and here's that video.
Right.
And then to get to the transcript, you have to click more You click on show transcript and then it shows here.
Right. So we should be able to just based on that URL. I don't know YouTube's API. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar, but we should be able to get access to that transcript.
Okay. So I did come across this site, which is, I don't know if you've used this Apify. You can use different pre-built APIs here. So I was searching, okay, can I just go get a YouTube scraper? But to your point, I had already prompted Lovable, and I think that was my mistake is I didn't start in a ChatGPT or Gemini with the problem. I just went with, I already know the problem. You are going to build me the solution, but then it didn't work because it wasn't pulling the right videos. It wasn't even scraping YouTube. So what you're saying is take a step back, figure out the problem, riff on the problem with the LLM, and then figure out what that proposed solution is.
Yeah, it's really important to have to know all the parts of the system.
Yeah.
You need to be a systems thinker here. And it's not like it's crazy, right? Like I think it's not like a dramatic way to put it. It's just
Yeah.
that's where you're like asking it to do something without enough information because you're not providing it enough information so that it can be a systems thinker,
Yeah.
right? So you can't expect for it to provide you a good result.
Gotcha. So I think what we will have to do is maybe we'll do a part two where we actually build this live, give you time to sleep on it, and of course, see if the public wants this. But what I'm understanding from you is if I'm using something like Lovable or I'm using something like Bold, it's probably best in my best interest to first even ask ChatGPT, hey, think like a developer and lay out the steps and then put those steps inside of Lovable, inside of Bold, and not just like try a one shot thing to create a CRM.
Exactly. And as you're doing that, I actually have a video, like the number one prompt you need to vibe code. And basically I have a rule in Cursor. Yeah, I think it's like my second video down there.
How to, the number one prompt you
Yeah, the
need to
number one
vibe
prompt
code
you need to
correctly.
vibe code correctly. And basically my rule, and I think in my video it's a little differently, but basically it's like I always reference this whenever I'm prompting is please ask any questions you need for clarification before proceeding with implementation. And this is something I would say like forget about coding, just across the board. I use this all the time because it just asks you all these questions that like, oh, I didn't think about that. Well, I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. And it really helps you detail out a plan.
Yeah, and that's what I'm finding. Like, as I start building in Lovable, I might have like one idea, but as it starts building, I'm like, oh, wait, it can't do this. Let me, and as a developer, I'm sure you get this with clients all the time. Like, you start building something out, and they're like, no, 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 wait, I didn't realize it can do this. Now I want it to do this. So, asking that question that you just said, and we'll put that in the show notes and the description so people can just copy your genius is what are the questions that I am missing that you should be asking me. So it's like a two-way street, and it's not just like you are an LLM, you're going to just take my command. It's more of like a back and forth.
And this is just like a different way that our habit has always been to like, we just tell the computer what to do, but that's not the case anymore. Like this is a partner to think analytically with and to have someone who can help you think critically. And so take advantage of that and have it ask you questions.
Yeah.
And so just as an example, like once I go through what is all going to be like when I build out for clients, like everything that's going to be within the application, like this last client, it's for a weight loss coach. I'm almost done with this project for her, but I mean, it took me an hour and a half of answering questions with an LLM in order to create my database schema, right?
Wow.
So like that's what I mean by like asking questions and being thorough, right? Like take that hour and a half to actually think through what you're doing because then once you hit enter, it's really magical. So
Now you can export that chat, put it behind a paywall, and charge people to get
yeah.
access to your hour and a half.
Well, and the whole point is like when you do it this way, what you find is you do not fight.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot less this, oh, that's not what I meant. Do it like this. And then it just becomes this like,
Yeah.
this wheel. It's just disgusting. And so I actually have another video on that called the doom loop and how to avoid the doom loop.
Okay.
I don't deal with that, right? Because
Yeah.
I've kind of figured out how to work so I don't.
It's all in the prompt engineering, essentially.
All in the prompt engineering. It's just a new skill. Got to learn it.
Gotta learn it. All right. What's
But
next for Micah? No, go ahead.
I
You were
actually
saying,
just
but
actually finishing up a signing on a new client today, so that was exciting. It was one that I really wanted, and it was between me and another dev, and so I'm glad I was able to wrangle her in. That this should be fun. And then at least like regarding this application, I want to own this whole market in
baby
all
run
honesty.
life. Why
So I
just
want to own
Alaska? Why
I want
not?
to own this app for every fishery in Alaska. And so I'm already on schedule and in talks to I'm gonna go ahead and do two more fisheries next summer. It's too late to do those now.
Season's over.
Seasons it's we're already like into it and gonna be past it here soon. But next season I'll have three of these apps out.
But here's the thing, if the season is over here in Alaska or in US, where is it starting?
Yeah.
Can you just go to Australia or New Zealand or wherever?
Yeah, you're on my line of thought.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So BB stands for what's the name of
Bristol,
the
yeah,
Bristol Bay?
Bristol Bay.
So that's one fishery or one
Yep.
lake or
It's
what
just
is
one
it?
fishery.
Okay. And how many are there in Alaska?
I should know that answer. But there's really only probably four others that are worth building this for because I need to have a certain amount of fishermen per fishery in order for this to make sense, right?
How much do they, so it's a, let's say it's a 21-day fishing period. I'm just riffing with you. How much are they potentially making per season?
So as you can imagine, this is a really wide gamut, right? So someone who does well, and I'm obviously talking to fishermen right now because it's like my brother actually commercial fishes, and so like I know what they're doing and how they're doing, and so people up there will gross. The higher boats will probably gross around 300,000 in revenue.
Mhm.
Mind you, they have a lot of expenses, a lot of taxes. Like it sounds like a lot of money, but it gets cut down
Yeah.
really fast, right? Gets cut down really fast. And then probably on the lower end would be like 120 or something in there.
Okay. Because I was wondering if you could have tiers in there, but sounds like you're currently at a sweet spot that $25 they don't even care. They're like, that website sucks. It doesn't load on mobile. This app is going to work. $25 is nothing. But maybe by next year you'll have some upsells or some unlock features to pay extra and whatnot.
And so where I'm going with this actually is I want to have it as the way I see this is kind of just running like I have a like a media model because if I own that network, then I can say to the welder or to the electrician
That's
or
right.
to the refrigerated seawater technician, hey, if you want to be, put them in as like a phone book number, right?
Yeah.
You want to be in the app as a service listed, 500
Pay
bucks,
for, yeah, at
right? You get
least.
20 people, boom, 10 grand, 10 grand through subscription. So that's 20 grand, no work on my end, right?
Yes.
This is easy.
When you say no work on my end, it's easy for you to say that because you do this for a living, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's work.
So there is work. It's super fun. So like I
Yeah.
just put my headphones on and just like go at it. And
Yeah.
then it's a community that I love. And then number three is like it's only like the amount of work required to like keep this app going and features and all that stuff is just less and less and less.
Yeah.
Like the main part of it's done, right?
Gotcha. All right. I'm going to pretend that I'm the LLM now. What is the question that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Probably some security questions around users, data, geolocation, how I'm protecting
Who cares?
that.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yes. Tell me about
But
that.
I think a lot of people for sure like aren't paying attention to that, right? Especially for someone like me, like I am vibe coding for my clients, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not cool for me to not be concerned about their users' data.
Yeah, and I think Superbase does take care of some of it, right? Like
Oh yeah.
I usually the first thing I do is I go switch off the email authentication because the user is just me. I'm like, I don't need to authenticate my email. But Superbase has built quite a few of those layers in there. What you're saying is on top of that, how can we make it more secure? Because right now you don't have authentication.
Right. And
Gotcha.
there's like this is a situation where like the risk is pretty much zero. Like you're gonna steal weather data from NOAA that it's already public.
Yeah,
You're gonna steal data from like I don't have user issue right now. I don't actually store like user location or anything like that. So like that's
gotcha.
not a concern. But like potentially, right? Like I could be doing that.
Yeah. So what all of us need to think is what is something that's publicly available but shitty that we need to beautify?
Yeah, and I've actually heard this one of people just building government wrappers.
Yeah.
Like I think I heard this on like a My First Million podcast with Sam Parr and
I
Sean.
love MFM. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just a riot, man. Yeah,
Dude, it's
they're a
it's
riot.
awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome.
I went to see them live in Austin.
You have?
Yeah, I went to see them live in Austin, stood in line, took my whole family with me. I was like, all right, you guys go do whatever you want to do in Austin. I don't care. I'm going to go see these two dudes.
Yeah, they have it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm always laughing when I'm listening, so it's fun. And you learn
Yeah.
something.
Well, you're going to be on there soon. I can see that.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, do you have any questions for me?
Not yet. Not right now, but I will.
All right. For next episode, we will build that White House press briefing.
I think we can do it.
If we get enough comments. If not,
Have we get
then
enough
we'll just
comments?
build it for fun.
I'll put all my revenue from this one on a bet with you on Kalshi from the app that we build.
All right, let's do it.
Oh.
That's a good answer. All right.